Hello and good morning. Let's take a look here. Well, I don't want you to use a calculator on this. Now, if you miss any of these, that is a big warning sign. So try to figure it out when I explain it to you. So look up here. This number right here has a plus. So you have more minuses. You only have 5 pluses, and you have 6 minuses. So these cancel each other out, and you're left with a -1. Again, you have more minuses. How many more? 1 more. So this should be a -1. This one right here, you have a -5 and a -6. That gives you a total of a -11 or a -11. Okay? That's the way you think about it. You might say, oh, no, that's a minus sign. Okay. But it's also a negative. So you have 5 negatives and you have 6 negatives. And you add them up. So you have 11 negatives. Make sure you got that right. This one right here, a negative times a negative becomes a plus. So here you have more minuses. This is just like number 1. This becomes a plus. Double negative becomes a plus. You add them up and you get 11. This one right here, you have more positives. How many more positives? You have 1 more. Or more pluses. Okay, what I want you to do now is open up a book. And actually, no, hold on a second. Try these right here. Okay, so gas prices have gone down every day. They will go down tomorrow. Now you got to decide if this first part is specific or general. That's the key. Turns out this one, they have gone down every day, is specific. So this is specific, and it's going to general. And specific to general is inductive. So number 1, or this one, is inductive. Okay, and deductive is general to specific. Write that down, memorize it. Now, Miss Rose came up with a good way to memorize it. So if you look, D comes before I. And G comes before S. So these two go together. So however, memorize it like that. Now this one right here, watch the pattern. You see the 1 minus 2 repeats, and then they add 3, and then they subtract 4. And all of this repeats here. So now you're going to add 5 and subtract 6. Notice this is gone in sequence. So the next one, you're going to rewrite all of this. And then you're going to add 2 more. You're going to say plus 7 minus 8 should be a -4. Now you probably could add this up on your calculator and should get that. And that's how you do that. It's just a pattern. Okay, now we're turning our attention. So open your book to page 15. And I do want you to always read in case I don't tell you something. So this is a sequence, the whole thing, and it goes on forever. These are called terms. A to the n, or an rather, is the nth term. It could be a million. Now look at this problem here. We're going to find the difference. So example 1, I'm going to switch over to the book because it was a lot to write. So example 1 is right here. So go to page 16 and let's look at example 1. Okay, so here This is using differences. And I think I saw one person try this yesterday. So you subtract these two, those two, subtract these two, and you keep subtracting. Then you subtract the next two. That's the second difference. And then you subtract again and you get the same number. Once you get the same number, you work backwards. You take the difference, which is 6, you add it to this, you get 36. You add this to that, and you get that. You add this to that, and you get the new number. And that's the way you do it. So on the next one, this would be a 6 here. Because we know all of these are 6s. You're going to add it to this to get this number. Then you're going to add this number to that to get the new number. And then you're going to add this to this to get a new number up there. So you work backwards. So this is called the third difference. They give you an example down here, but we're going to keep moving. All right. Example 2. Now these are going to be a little tricky where you got to write an equation. So if you look at their answer right here, this is the first one. So it's going to be 2 of these. That's where they get the 2n. And then they put plus n minus 1. And if this is the first term, and it is, 1 minus 1 would be 0. And 2 times 1 would be 2. Okay? So look at the next one. This is the second term. So 2 times 2 is 4. That gives you these 4. And then 2 minus 1, because it's the second term, 2 minus 1 is 1. And when you add that up, you get 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are a little harder, but you're going to try to come up with equations. Okay? And this one does work. It's got to work for each of these when you check it. Okay, so if you look at this one, you got to come up with a sequence here. So turn to page 18. Notice that these are squares. 2 squared, 1 squared. This is 3 squared, which is 9. 3, 6, 9. So this is going to be n squared, something squared, because we have a square here. And then you got to do something up here. So we're going to say n minus 1. Let's try that. Let's see if it works here. So this is going to be the third term, 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 3 squared, which is 9. And then 3 minus 1, which gives you 2 right here. So that does work. It's a little harder, but that's the way you do it. Now tomorrow we're going to get into the rest of this, or actually we're going to be doing computers. So make sure you bring your computer tomorrow. And you can look at the pattern here on page 22 and see the sequence. Okay? I want you to do today, and here's your assignment. And again, I do want you to always read. The assignment is right here. Okay? And there it is. Let's turn our attention now to college algebra. Remember, bring your computers tomorrow. Okay, now if you miss any of these, you need to really be concerned and figure it out. So here you have more minuses. You only have 5 pluses. So that's going to be a negative 1. This one is a minus 5 and a minus 6. So you add these up and get minus 11. This becomes a plus, and you have more pluses. This becomes a minus, and you have more pluses. You have 2 more pluses. Make sure you understand the rules. Okay, let's go over the laws of exponents. Now look up here. There is 4 laws of exponents. There's actually more, but I'm just going to give you the first 4. So write this down. Okay, so let's see, x to the a times x to the b. If you have the same base and you're multiplying, you add these up. Okay, so that would be like x to the 4th times x to the 7th equals x to the 11th power. The next one is kind of like the distributive property. Well, let's use division. X to the a over x to the b, number 2. For that one, you have the same base, but you're dividing. So you subtract the exponents. That's going to be x to the a minus b. So that one would be like x to the 3rd over x to the 5th. You have the same base, and you're dividing. So that's going to be x to the 3 minus 5, which gives you x to the negative 2. Now you're not supposed to have a negative, so you're going to drop this down, and it's going to become 1 over x to the positive 2. Your exponent's supposed to always be plus. The next one is like the distributive. Xy to the a power would be x to the a and y to the a. That one would be like x to the 3rd, y to the 5th, all of this raised to the 7th power. So you're going to multiply here. So 7 times 3 is going to be x to the 21 and y to the 35. Okay? And then the last one, let me think. Well, for the time being, we'll put a question mark on that. I'm sure we'll run into it. So let's take a look at these problems here. Copy this down. You had this one yesterday. Remember, this one doesn't have parentheses, so it's only the 5 squared. So that's going to be a negative 25, believe it or not. This one is going to be a positive. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive 25. Make sure you know the difference. This one right here is like one of the rules where you're dividing, so you're going to subtract the exponent. So you're going to say 4 to the 4 minus 6, which equals 4 to the negative 2, and you got to make that a positive, so it's going to be that, or 1 over 16, 4 times 4. Okay? This one right here, first you're going to do this 3 times. Well, if you have 3 negatives, it's going to be a negative. So it's going to be a negative x to the 3rd power times 1/3. And when you multiply here, the 3 is on the bottom. So it's going to be negative x to the 3rd over 3. You can have a negative in front, you just can't have a negative exponent. Now let's keep moving. This one right here has a negative exponent, number 3. They want you to evaluate it. So since this is a negative, I would drop that down. Don't drop the 5 down, just drop the x squared down. And then 3 times 3 is 9, so it's going to be 5 over 9. And that's how I would do it. This one right here, you're multiplying, so you're going to do that times that, and this might be rule 4. So that's going to be a negative 12. Here you're going to add the exponents because you're multiplying. 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 4 minus 3 is 1. Now you can put the 1, but you don't have to put it. So I'm just going to leave that off and leave it as b. This one right here, you're dividing. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. You bring this up. See, this is a negative, but when you bring it up, it becomes a plus. That's what happens with your exponents. They change. So this is a to the 5th. When you bring this one up, it becomes a negative 1. So you get b to the negative 5. But again, you can't have a negative. So you're going to drop that down and say 3a to the 5th over b to the 5th power, and you're going to leave it alone, and that's what you're going to say. Today's lesson is here. Make sure you copy the problem, show work, check answers, and ask for help. Have a good morning, and I'll see you guys in class. Bring your laptop tomorrow because we're doing Carnegie.